Since appointing Arteta in December 2019, Arsenal have been on a solid upward trajectory, picking up more points every season while shaping a squad into a progressive modern outfit. Arteta gets a lot of credit for Arsenal's performances on the pitch. Football Retouch analyses how Arsenal go from nearly dropping out of the Big Six to challenging for the Premier League title. Arsenal appointed their former star Edu Gaspar as the club's first ever technical director in July 2019. Edu has been firmly in charge of the club's player recruitment and sales and overseeing the coaching at the club. Edu oversaw the appointment of Mikel Arteta. On the same period, he signed 18-year-old talents William Saliba and Gabriel Martinelli. Arteta began to reshape Arsenal on the pitch, moving away from the 4-2-3-1 and towards the 3-4-3. This helped the club lift the FA Cup in his first season in charge. This was less than 8 months after taking up his first managerial job. Arteta became the first Arsenal manager to win a trophy in his debut season in charge since George Graham in the 1986-87 campaign. This made him become the first man in the history of the FA Cup to have won the competition as a captain and a manager. Off the pitch, Edu Gaspar worked on defensive transfers, bringing in the left-footed centre-back Gabriel and defensive midfielder Thomas Partey. The following year, Edu Gaspar continued along the same lines, bringing Ben White, Aaron Ramsdale and Tomiyasu in order to strengthen the defense. Martin Odegaard got a permanent deal that cost less than £35 million. With these acquisitions, Edu created the foundations of a squad that Arteta could blend with. The talents at the club created Arteta's first competitive starting 11. This focus on defensive signings is the same kind of focus that has made Pep Guardiola's Manchester City such a tough team to beat in modern football. Defenders are usually the deepest players, which means they have the most time and space on the ball, resulting in the most touches. In fact, in each of the last 4 Premier League seasons, a defender has been ranked first for total touches in the competition. When playing a possession-based style, you need your defenders, by extension, your deepest players, to be very good on the ball. Combine that with the need for your defenders to actually be good defenders. It makes sense that top teams spend a lot of money on recruiting complete players to fit these roles. Edu Gaspar did this for Arsenal, signing with the likes of Gabriel Magalhaes and William Saliba in his first few seasons at the club, who are all highly composed in possession and blessed with excellent technical skills. This gave Arteta the personnel he needed to really take his vertical tiki-taka approach to a position where Arsenal could completely control matches from deep, carving through teams when necessary. Take for example Lacazette's goal scored against Southampton at the Emirates in the 21-22 season. Arsenal started with possession in their own half, inviting the Southampton to press, ultimately carving through the pressure with quick play from Gabriel, Ben White, Tomiyasu and Odegaard. By the time Saka gets the ball, Arsenal have basically created a 3 versus 3 on the Southampton backline to finish. Saka carries towards the goal, then cuts the ball back for Lacazette to score. This kind of goal is something we've come to expect from Arteta's coaching and style of play. A certain profile and quality of players is needed for this approach to work. Edu Gaspar's approach to signings under Mikel Arteta has focused on bringing players under the age of 24 to the club. Out of the 21 permanent transfers that Arsenal has made since 2020, exclusive free transfers, 15 have been aged 25 and under, whilst out of 18 outfield players, 14 were aged 25 and under. By signing young talents rather than ready-made stars, Edu gives Arteta players that he can imprint his ideas on their gameplay. This is because Arteta himself is an excellent coach who has got a track record of improving players on the training ground. His time as Pep Guardiola's assistant at Manchester City arguably saw the biggest levels of development within the squad, turning high-potential players like Leroy Sane, Kyle Walker and Raheem Sterling into world-class quality players we know today. At Arsenal, Arteta has continued his training groundwork, taking raw talents like Gabriel Martinelli and Bukayo Saka and shaping them into 2 of the best wingers in the Premier League. The outcome of Arteta's training ground and performance improvements has brought about a substantial increase in squad value. According to Transfermarkt, When Arteta was appointed as Arsenal manager in December 2019, the Gunners had a squad value at €677 million. They ranked 6th in the Premier League at the time in squad. But today, Arsenal's squad is valued at over £1 billion. Only Manchester City's squad is valued higher. Arteta has not had the easiest time at the Emirates. He has had a number of indiscipline problems to deal with. Matteo Guendouzi was the first to feel Arteta's wrath after a training ground incident which occurred on a team training session in Dubai in 2020. On the same trip, the Frenchman would also be given a dressing down by Edu due to his behavior. After these incidents, Matteo Guendouzi would go on to just play 2 more games for Mikel Arteta, as the youngster's talent was ignored due to his behavior. Arteta had similar issue with the attitude of Mesut Ozil. The German was a global star who had signed a huge contract with the Gunners just 2 years prior. This didn't stop Arteta from banishing him. Often lacking effort and work rate, Ozil was a luxury player that Arteta's tactics at the time couldn't afford. What made the situation worse was the COVID-19 pandemic. According to reports, Ozil refused a voluntary 12.5% pay cut. Ozil didn't play for the club again. And finally, Arteta had a roller coaster of a relationship with then-star striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He was initially appointed as club captain by Arteta. A decline in attitude and form eventually saw Aubameyang been left out of Arsenal's matchday squad in December 2021. He returned late from a trip abroad. This wasn't the first infringement from Aubameyang, but it was to be his last. 3 days later, he was stripped of captaincy and ultimately left the club by mutual consent in February. Throughout each of these disciplinary sagas, Arsenal backed Arteta, and now they're reaping the rewards as Arsenal is one of the tightest-knit groups in the Premier League. Arteta keeps all players in check with a strict code of conduct. This is important because Arteta's style of play is very much team-centric. Arsenal transition from their 4-3-3 starting shapes to either a 2-3-5 or a 3-2-5 in possession depending on the opposition. For example, if they're facing a 4-5-1 low block with little pressure on the ball, we'll see the base 2, while against the 2-man press we'll generally see a 3 versus 2, which creates a natural overload on the first line of pressure. This facilitates easy playing out from the back. The goalkeeper uses short but crisp passes to retain possession and plays through pressure like we highlighted earlier in Lacazette's goal against Southampton. This possession-based approach is extremely easy on the eye and has made Arsenal much loved by their fans. What helps is the fact that Arteta slowly transitioned away from 3-4-1-2, initially opting for a compressing 3-4-3 which saw them lift Arteta's first trophy. But then, they slowly moved on to the possession-based approach that we see today. This change of shape is highlighted by Arteta himself, who said in 2021, "We want to move to a 4-3-3, but for what you need a lot of specificity in every position, and now in 5 or 6 positions we don't have it." You can see this evolution in style when you compare Arsenal's possession numbers season by season. Arteta's first full season, 2021 campaign saw Arsenal average was 53.5 possession, the 7th most in the Premier League. The following year saw a slight drop-off in possession, but Arsenal actually averaged the 4th most that season. Then last season we saw Arteta game changer, with the Gunners seeing almost 60% of the ball in every match. This steady evolution combined with Arteta's implementation of youth bought him time he needed to turn the Arsenal around. In 2023, Arsenal rewarded Aaron Ramsdale, Gabriel Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, William Saliba and Martin Odegaard with new long-term contracts to expire in 2027. They had previously signed Gabriel down to a similar contract in October 2022. Meanwhile, the likes of Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz, Jurrien Timber and Declan Rice, who are all recent signees, have contracts that run out in 2027 or 2028. So, Arsenal has 10 of their starting 11 on long-term contracts, with reports indicating that Ben White is the next in line for an extension, which would make it 11 out of 11. Arsenal's incredible competition for places is what in turn creates fantastic squad. Arsenal has built a very impressive squad that could compete with the very best around. By the acquisition of previously considered squad players like Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko and Odegaard from top teams, the new acquisitions are unlikely to leave anytime soon, as they are now getting game time at a top club. That's a similar story with the youngsters playing for Arsenal for a long time. They've developed an attachment to the club which gives them reason not to want to leave in the future. Mikel Arteta has a very good record against the rest of the Premier League's Big Six, but he has only beaten Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola inside 90 minutes once in his last 13 attempts. They are the two standout managers in the world of football with arguably the best squads. Arteta and his Arsenal squad are both very young, so expect these records to improve. Arsenal's appointment of Edu as their technical director and the club's sporting director, and the appointment and backing of Mikel Arteta, who transformed Arsenal from quite a pragmatic outfit to a tactically versatile team who looked to dominate possession and play vibrant attacking. The combination of Edu and Arteta has then allowed Arsenal to grow, build one of the best possession-based side, and by capitalizing on younger players with high potential at his disposal, Arteta can improve even further.